everyone, welcome to the part 1 of this Golang tutorial. So we're gonna start right away. We're gonna start making the project. So first, make sure you create a brand new folder where we're gonna put all the project stuff. Here I just call that Golang YouTube tutorial to do. You can call it whatever you want. I just get in it, that's it. I have nothing else. Everything is empty. So when we work with Node.js, we start a project with npm init or yarn init, whatever you want. Here it's going to be pretty simple, almost the same. Go mod init to do. So go mod, it's something called go module, and this is kind of your package JSON stuff where we're gonna handle all your dependency thing, stuff like that. After that, open your text editor of choice. For myself, I'm gonna make use of Golang, like I did say in the introduction. So Golang is just a JetBrains product where you have it's focused on Golang, that's it. But VS Code, whatever you have, gonna work with that. After that, here, the first thing I'm gonna see, it's here I have a Go mod project, and you see they have put a module to do. So that this is the name we give when we did make of Go mod init to do. And you see here they say we make use of the version Go 1.13. After that, any project in Go start with a main file. And now here I'm gonna just set up some stuff. You don't need to do this if you make use of other product, just because Golang did that. Here after that, I'm gonna change the package name to be called main, and we start with a function called main, like that. After that, what we're gonna do, it's here we need to talk about how we're gonna set up our project. So for setting the project, what we're gonna need to think about is the folder structure. So yeah, so Golang, it's not like Node.js where you can kind of get all your stuff whatever you want and you import them whatever you want and stuff like that. In Golang, you have an issue called circular dependent. You have a circular import stuff. Finally, it's if you have a package, you require another package, and this package require this same package, and now we get this circular stuff. So you need to think about that when you start your project. So that's kind of why a lot of people say start with a really simple structure, and yeah, you just make it more complicated when your domain stuff need more thing and stuff like that. The way for me I like to deal with that, it's pretty simple. It's I have like 3 folders. So the first folder I do have, it's something called domain. So this domain folder is gonna be all the stuff we're gonna put about the business logic. So example, all your logic, like whatever you do will make your business stuff. I mean, I don't know what to say more, but yeah. After that, I have another folder called handlers. So my handlers, it's gonna be my REST API kind of controller-ish. If you came from an MVC background, there are just functions who are called from the REST interface. And yeah, in Go they call that handler. And after that, I'm gonna have another folder here called Postgres. I didn't like it first, okay, when I did see it. And the reason is, for me, that was not making sense to have a package called Postgres. But now more and more I think about it, more and more like it. It's just the fact then the domain gonna have an interface. So we're gonna talk about that later, but gonna have an interface, we're gonna talk to a database. But it don't really care about the database. That's the beauty of having something called domain like that, is the fact then this thing care about nothing outside of himself. And what I do think, what I want to say, it's example here I'm using Postgres, but maybe in a month you want to switch that for like DynamoDB or MongoDB, whatever you want. And the domain should not change. The domain should call some function, and those functions gonna stay the same. That the beauty of also with a type language like that, it's the fact then it's easier to refactor, because you know then everything gonna follow the same contract. And yeah. Now after that, what I want to do, for set up this project, it's I want to set up Chai, and I want to set up the database stuff. That's gonna be the thing we're gonna do in this video. So the way we're gonna handle that is we're gonna start with the database. I think it's gonna be the simplest one. So I always like to have a file with the same name as the package name. So I know that's gonna be the first entry of this package. So yeah, so here I'm gonna have a package Postgres where I have a file Postgres, and in this file, this is where I'm gonna create my database. So I'm gonna create a function called new, and this function here, I want to return my GoPG stuff. I mean my GoPG database where I'm gonna create it. So what I do need for that, I'm gonna just copy paste that. It's gonna be easier. I need the libpq who came from the standard library. It's the Postgres driver of Golang. And what I want here, it's the GoPG version 9. So those things here, GoPG here is this thing here. Golang ORM with focus of Postgres SQL is this package. So the way you can install that inside your project is by running this GitHub, GoPG, PGV9. But for me, what I can just do is I can sync package of to-do. And now you see they're gonna be added in my Go mod. So like I did told you, it's kind of like your Postgres package JSON. So here now my module to do require this GoPG with the version v9 beta 15, and it also need the PQ v1.2. Now here why is red is because they say you use import, and why I didn't say for this one is because I did put underscore like that. So it kind of it's like a we import it, but I know I'm not gonna use it in my kind of code. But yeah, the compiler don't gonna care about that. And now you see get removed because it did save, but yeah, don't worry, that's gonna come back. So here, what we want to return, it's a pointer to a PG database. And what we're gonna do here, we're gonna initialize database. So again, it's not a full beginner Golang tutorial, so you're supposed to know what happened here. So where I'm gonna PG connect, and here I'm gonna pass some option. If you don't know this, but you should, it's just a way to say, hey, I want this DB to be the type of that. So you don't need to say, example, var DB, it's gonna be a PG DB, like that. I can just create it right away with this kind of equal here. So now this option I want to pass to PG Connect. If you see the option need to pass, the option are a pointer to an option like that. So PG option is going to be this kind of struct. It's going to be a struct where you're going to have like your network, password, database, and whatever you need to open a database connection. And finally, because I say I want to return a pointer to a database, I'm going to return the DB right there. So this new function here is going to be called from my main. So now here inside my main, this is where I'm going to call my DB. I'm going to call that DB like that. And now I'm going to take my Postgres new function we just create, and you see Golang auto import the to-do Postgres. So the to-do is the project himself, and the Postgres is the package, and that's why we get the new. Now here I need to pass the pointer to the Postgres option. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to initial that, and I'm going to select the field I want. So the one I do want, I want the user. Oops, sorry. I mean, I can do this right there. So I want the user. The user is going to be Postgres. So do whatever you have inside your database. For me, my Postgres database is set up to be like that. And my password is also Postgres. And my database, the name we're going to give it, because we are in dev, I'm going to call that to do dev. Now, what I'm going to do, I want this database to be closed whenever this main is going to be returned. And the way you can do this in Go, if you don't want to forget it, you can just defer the close. So the way defer gonna work here, it's gonna call the DB close whenever whenever you this function gonna be returned. So this way you don't gonna forget. So now we have created the DB connection, but we need also to make sure we have a database create. So the way you can create a database is just by calling create DB to do dev. And now if I go to my Postico and I show you this, I have now a to-do dev who have nothing inside that. Perfect. So now we have create our DB connection, and now I would like that to be passed, not to be passed, but to create my handler. The way that's gonna work, it's again, we're gonna work with the same kind of way. We're gonna have a handler file. So again, same package name and the first file, always the same. That's what I like. And now in this one here, we're gonna create a type server who's gonna be a struct from Node.js struct. Think about a struct like it's like an object. And this struct here, we're gonna do nothing for that now. But what I do like for those kind of struct, it's to have a constructor, okay? So my constructor is just a function gonna create a new server and gonna return a pointer to a server, and it just finally return it. Now this server here, I think I want to do is have a function called setup router, and this thing gonna return a chai.mux. Now you see the autocomplete don't work because I do need to have the import of chai. Just because I want to make it easier, I did copy that in my clipboard, and Golang is smart enough to get it. And now you see he auto import chai. Again, you can all do this in VS Code, or you do go get and you get this chai. I don't want to lose too much time there. Now here, what I want to do, it's I want to create a server from my setup router, where I'm gonna call the function new server. And after that here, I want to create a router. So chai new router now gonna give you access to a chai mux. Or finally now what I can do, it's all those kind of stuff. So if you came from Express again, you see it's everything you need. You have the use where you can put a middleware, you have the put, you have the get, you have also the post, the delete, all your HTTP stuff you need here. And finally, to make sure this function is going to be valid, I want to return the R. So that's why I return my chai new router with a type of chai mux pointer. And now here to my server here, what I want to do is I'm going to call a function called server.setup endpoint, and where I'm going to pass the error. This function here, I'm going to create it. This function here, it's going to be a function where I'm going to put all my endpoint for my recipe. So Golang make me create this function, this method, and I want to use the pointer of the server like that, and I'm going to call that like this. But the thing is, I don't want this function to be inside this file, because this file is going to become pretty messy. So I'm going to create an endpoint file, and I'm going to cut this function, and I'm going to paste it right there. I don't know why you keep telling me that, but yeah. And now you see my setup endpoint. I don't need to import it because it came from the same package. So now here I'm going to have all my endpoint stuff, okay? Now this is where I can start to work with that. And now I'm going to say a route. I'm going to have API v1, where I'm going to have another chai router version. So now here what that means is all my route going to be inside that. So that means my user going to need to go to HTTP whatever /API/v1 to even get something from here. And the first stuff we're gonna work later, you're gonna see is gonna be inside that, and we're gonna have this from another route who's gonna be called user. And now I'm gonna receive another chai router right there. So now here I set up my endpoint, and now I return this chai mux, and now this setup router is gonna be called from my main. Oops, sorry about that. So from my main here, I'm gonna create this router where I'm gonna call that from my handler, and I'm gonna say new setup router. After that, I want to get a port. So like you do in Express, you get a port. It's nothing new here. It's just plain server stuff, and I want to get that from my get env. So this is the way you can get from your .env file. So I say port, and yes, we have nothing create for now, so that's why I'm gonna say if port equal an empty string. So if this thing return us an empty string, I'm gonna say port is gonna be equal to 8081. After that, I'm gonna keep it there. I like to have my defer right below. After that, I'm gonna have an error here function when I'm gonna call my listen and serve. So HTTP, it came from the standard library net, and here listen and serve need an address and need an handler. So for the address, I'm gonna format a string where it's gonna be finally just a colon, and I'm gonna put %s because it's gonna be a string, and I'm gonna put a port, and finally I'm gonna put the R to be the handler. And because the R, the variable R with our router follow the pattern of the handler, like I did say, they have the interface handler. That's why I can pass it to this HTTP listen and serve. And now finally here, if I have an error which is not nil, I'm gonna log fatal F cannot start server %v because I'm gonna pass the error. Okay. Now here, if I run it, nothing gonna really work, but what we can do is we can try go run main.go go, at least we have no crash. And now if we try to go inside Postman, and now I go to HTTP and I do a get, here we see we get finally no response. It's because we have nothing yet. So, but we're gonna handle all that later. At least the server is running. Would like to have some log because right now we see nothing. So the way we can handle that is if we jump back to the handler, we can have some middleware we came with mux, not mux but chai by default. And what I like to do is have a function called setup middleware. We're gonna take my chai mux, and finally we're gonna call here some function with the we're gonna use some middleware. So use here, it's like we have in Express where you can just pass it a middleware, and like I say, chai give us some middleware. You see middleware already from here, and what I want is I want to get a request ID like that. I also want the middleware real IP. I want also a middleware called compress, just to compress the request. I'm gonna just say I want them to be on the type application JSON. I want also to have the logger. Okay. Also, I'm gonna use another middleware. They give us recover rare or the use. We're gonna also have another one called a URL format. So the URL format, it's just a middleware. Finally, we're gonna give us a way to parse the URL extension. So you go to go/chai /chai, and they are the middleware almost. I take it from here. I good base middleware stack, and yeah, it's just some stuff I did put. And finally, the only one who left is the timeout. So we want to time out if the request take more than 60 seconds, like that. So now if I start here and I run it, okay, yeah, oh yeah, I forgot to call it. So now here my setup middleware need to be called before my endpoint. but after my R, because I need to put my char mux like that. So now if I run it and now I call it, oh, it's ED1, sorry about that. You see page 44, and now we get this page 44 right there. And from this logger stuff, that's where we get now the time, and we get also which URL and the HTTP status. So I think it's pretty nice, and also you see that time and whatever you need. Perfect. So sorry for my mistake. This is live coding stuff. So yeah. So now we have the router set up, and we have the database set up right there. So what we're gonna do in the next video, we're gonna start by building the register endpoint, where finally a user is gonna be able to sign up with a username, password, and an email. And yeah, so that's gonna be the plan for the next time. I am gonna put the Git repo in the description. And yeah, so if you want to follow, you can look at that, or you just code next to myself. So have a good one, everyone. Bye.